Hey everybody, welcome to episode 115 of Tactical Crouch. KickedTripod here with Yiska and Volamel. Yiska's back. Yay. He's back. Good to have you back. You showed up last minute on Spike Drop with us. That was fun.
I was like, you were just done, and then you were like, nah, we're kind of late. Let's go. And I'm like, I just drove 6 hours.
You didn't have to. We I think you obviously gave you the opt out.
I think you did well enough for being exhausted.
Yeah, we like, that's when the filters drop and when it gets entertaining and scary. And very scary.
The filters most definitely dropped, I think. That was
buckets, Joe. Buckets.
Yeah. Lots of buckets.
With Stephen Curry.
Yeah. Steve Curry. Shout out to anybody who got tired of that one this weekend.
Not Lilac. Certainly not Lilac.
No.
In jokes at the beginning of a podcast that 5% of the people will understand.
You just got to show up to the games on the weekend.
Podcasting.
You just got to show up.
True.
You got to know. You got to be in the know.
You got to know. And then you know too much because I never can shut up about these things.
It's true. Steve Curry is going to be our next piece of merch as well. You know, you're not going to know the in joke if you don't show up to the games. Just saying.
Also don't, so I don't get sued. But
true.
Okay.
Don't need any of that.
If you're not over 18.
True.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's one way to start a show. Welcome to episode 115. We're going to get started. Before we do, just an update. We are so close to getting partnered on Twitch. We just fell a little bit short on one little metric, so we need to keep our concurrence up over 75 for the next month plus, and then make sure we get 12 live streams in a month, which shouldn't be a problem because we do shows Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon Pacific at twitch.tv/KickedTripod. If you're able to come, join us for the live show and meet a ton just to have you here. But we also really appreciate the additional concurrent view as well. They also look at things like your subscribers and your bit donations and all that kind of stuff when they're factoring in. So we know times are... It's 2020, basically. We know it's 2020, and but we do thank you for anybody who is able to support with subs or donations or anything else like that. Also, big shout out to our patrons. If you're like, hey, I want to support you, but I don't want to give Twitch and Amazon any more money, I don't blame you. Go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch, and you can support the show right there, and we appreciate it a ton. And by the way, we don't thank any subs or donations or anything during the show. We thank them at the end of the show or before and after. So just in case if you do in chat and you're like, why didn't they say my name? I promise we were not intentionally, or we were ignoring you, but not for anything other than to try to keep the show moving and flowing because you guys can be nuts sometimes. Anyways, patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. Speaking of our patrons, big thanks to our patron producers, Battlecrab Pin, Lolshin, Charlie L Audio Compass, Pork Chop, Sammy, Kasha67, Kuchikopi, Shara Picasso, Nathan Your Misery, Hunter Tane, Refined Bean, Rex Zane, Roger B, Fabled Steven, Owen, and Chris R34444. Thank you so much for supporting the show, and let's get into the stuff, yeah? The stuff.
True.
Yiska, you look like you have something on your mind right now.
I just thought, like, when you read that name, I just thought that is the code to crack. You just become producer and name yourself 777 quadrillion, 777 billion, 770.
I'm so glad we don't have text-to-speech for that particular reason. Some of them are actually kind of funny, like the text-to-speech like trolls. Like some of them are kind of funny, and some of them are just like, yeah, just numbers on numbers on numbers on numbers.
Yeah.
I really like the one where it's like, get down. No, it's pretty funny.
Wasn't there like one? Wait, where was this posted? Oh yeah, you posted it in our group chat. Yiska is holding me hostage. Please send help.
Oh yeah.
Shouldn't that guy be a patron?
Oh wait, is he? I totally forgot. I think I totally forgot. I need to verify this right now.
Stalling.
So
tell him how much your face
reasons. I'm not holding anyone hostage unless you want to be held hostage. In which case, I can provide that service, but probably for more than $25.
Are you soliciting right now?
What?
Are you soliciting some sort of like weird BDSM kink?
Look, all I'm saying is I have an Amazon wish list. And if you want to buy me Pop-Tarts, then I'm all for
Is your wish list just full of Pop-Tarts?
No, actually, I've never had Pop-Tarts, and
Really?
I kind of want to have Yeah, we don't have Pop-Tarts here. That's like people ask me, why do you don't have joy in your life? I expect this is one of the reasons why Jones don't.
Because you don't have Pop-Tarts. Aren't Pop-Tarts just like
You're
what
right.
is it? What kind of food would that based on? Pop-Tarts are extremely just shut up, but they're not based on pop.
Okay.
Extremely just okay. Yeah, I think I'd agree. Okay.
So explain to me what a Pop-Tart is. Is it like creamy stuff in the middle, right?
Stop it.
No, it's like it depends
it.
on what you get. It's like a jelly,
Stop it.
but not. It's like a thick jelly.
Stop it.
Like Jaffa cakes?
No. Not like Jaffa cakes.
Well,
Okay. Back to our patron producers. Here we go. Big thanks to our patron producers. Battlecrab Pin, Lotion, Charlie L, Audio Compass, Pork Chop, Sammy, Kasha67, Coochie Kopi, Sharp Picasso, Nathan Your Misery, Hunter Tane, Refine Bean, Rex Sane, Roger B, Fabled Steven, Owen, Chris R, 34444. Yiska is holding me hostage. Please send help.
All in one breath. Nailed it. And the added ones.
there you go.
Oh, man.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yiska is holding me hostage. Please send help is our most recent patron
I'm
producer.
so happy. You're my favorite patron. Don't tell the other ones that.
I cannot believe they did that. Oh, man. Too funny.
You're not funny, Peggy, with this, by the way.
Yes, you are, Peggy. Don't stop. Don't stop.
Okay.
Okay. Let's talk about this weekend. And I don't even really know to start. You guys want to start in NA or Asia?
Let's start in A so I can bang out my point and then make everyone mad, and then we can.
Oh, you got some heat?
Yeah, just like
You cooking a little sriracha today?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why life is meaningless, basically.
All right.
Okay.
So
we keep going.
Let's go from knockouts to finals. So we'll go left to right here.
Sounds good.
I mean, we started off the whole weekend with Toronto Defiant, the second worst team in the league, right?
Yeah.
Second worst team in the league, upsetting the LA Valiant 3-1. And
took them long enough, but they're here.
The last minute scrim rumors were true. We didn't get info on the scrim on Toronto until I think it was Thursday or Friday.
Too
so
late,
the show was already gone and posted. But Yiska bit on the intel. I don't think Joe and I did.
I will say that same info was still relevant the week before. This team is just a Papega squad. Like they should have by all rights beaten Dallas. Like it's just I think they know themselves. Like
so you're saying it's not like it's like a Houston thing where they can't translate, where like they're actually doing really well behind the scenes, but like once they get on the server, new team.
I mean, they kind of broke that by the two upsets they had in the Summer
totally.
Showdown,
I would
right?
say I would say this builds a lot of confidence for them, builds a lot of confidence for me in this team. I think the morale's definitely boosted there. Mm-hmm. I think it's definitely meta dependent, but gets you out of a slump. It gets you out of like a negative mindset, or at least helps to. So yeah, we should see some decent performances out of Toronto going forward, hopefully.
Sweet.
We'll see. I mean,
Good
it's
stuff.
taken them. They made some changes, some personnel changes the previous 2 months. So there's some justifications, I think, for what's kind of taking them. But we've seen the upset now. Toronto Defiant. I guess we have to ask this question because so the Washington Justice, the next game, go ahead and they upset the LA Gladiators.
Yeah.
And now,
Told you.
Shut up. Now we have to ask, Chengdu, does that make Chengdu the worst team in the league? Does that make
it might? It certainly might.
Does that make
might,
Gladiators worse in the league right now?
No. I
Does
don't think
that
so.
make Are the Justice still the worst, or the
Boston?
Boston?
I think Boston is back there, sadly. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I don't know what to think about Boston. We'll have to see because I think
it's a
we'll
bad
get into
meta
it
for them
once
as
in a bit.
well. But
Yeah, I think it was just a weird meta.
yeah,
I don't think anybody expected Genji to kind of come back. So
Not to
gonna do?
this level, right?
no.
Like usually
yeah.
you can kind of see when we go into no hero pool, we kind of see a couple teams who have like really outstanding Genjis. They're like kind of able to ride it through or whatever and just kind of like force it, but clearly wasn't the case that it wasn't something that you needed to force to be good. It was just good.
Yeah.
Very good. It was very good.
And it's always very hard to estimate like how good Chengdu is in comparison
I think
to
this
the lower
season-
NA teams. I will say there's a good argument to be made, and of course, like, what does that even mean? Because like a team is indivisible from the region it plays in. So if we were to say like we would have to make a distinction between putting Chengdu in NA this week and putting Chengdu generally into NA, and then them also learning alongside the other NA teams and where they would be. So I think generally speaking, Asia was a little behind NA in the
I would
meta.
say so.
Like they were late to get to the Genji.
Yep. And it showed even in the finals performance, which we'll get to. But like, I think if you compare the two finals, or you compare like even like the semifinals and the finals to one another, I think NA like clearly the better region at like the top.
Yeah.
Right now, at least.
Yeah. So
What a time to be alive. What a time.
It's a fun time, at least in Overwatch.
It is. This was so. I think we saw somebody. I think it was Eric who said peak concurrence over 85K at one point.
Yeah, not bad.
So really
Nice.
strong numbers there. I wanted to. So this is like obviously very anecdotal, but like I was really excited to tune in this whole weekend.
Nice.
Which is not always the case. Even when you're doing a podcast about it, you're just kind of like, Toronto Valiant, really?
Yeah, round of 12 was kind of sleeper. Justice was kind of fun. Houston was kind of fun. Paris was Defiant was kind of fun. Like it was just a fun event overall. Like you really
This is really
you went
good.
into it kind of thought you knew what you were talking about, and then you were like, nope, no idea actually. So I'll just enjoy the ride. So it was a good
Oh,
time.
correction. 85K was Melee. I know I for sure saw it at 65K at one point. Just on
85K
YouTube and stuff.
melee. Wow. Still, even if we even touch like
That's
around
great.
that number,
Like that shows a
good
clear
signs.
like revival in kind of just viewership and interest in it, and giving these. Who would have thought giving games more stakes makes it more fun to watch?
yeah.
Tournaments and understanding the consequences of every game, and it's great.
Can I now party poop so we can therefore have the counterbalance and really appreciate the final bracket?
Okay.
Because you remember the argument that I had where everyone was big disagreeing with me how predetermined games were.
Yeah.
I tell you, if you have scrim knowledge, and I never have complete scrim knowledge, but of
Yeah,
the
of course.
scrim games I do,
Uh-huh.
it's on rails, dude. It's like, it's exactly how you do. You see the train coming, and unless the Pepega squad derails itself, then like it's very, very predictable. Of course, there are some exceptions always, but like generally speaking, you see the relative strength, you see the types of comps they're running. Maybe you even hear how these comps interact with each other unbeknownst to these teams. And then it's like on game day performance really doesn't have that much to do with the outcome anymore. And I would still argue it's less than in GOATs. Like the variance of what teams were capable of doing and turning around on game day, and thus the predictability, even given perfect scrim knowledge, was higher in GOATs. And of course, that doesn't mean anything towards the general viewer, because nobody has access to scrim footage. And I think maybe for like teams that have very special scrim bubble constellations, then they probably have a very good idea how this tournament will go and can prep accordingly. But otherwise, it's like there was once a young man who said, "Damn, it has dawned upon me that I am a creature that moves in predestined grooves. I'm not even a bus. I'm a tram." That's how it feels. Total determinism in these initial brackets. And then of like, ignorance is bliss, guys. Don't learn anything about this. At best, don't read any predictions of people that know, and then you will be surprised. Like, and this man is still listening to K-pop, by the way.
It's actually not K-pop, but doesn't matter. What matters is that I don't know that I can disagree, because it's like, okay, to take Yiska's idea and synthesize it, it's, if you can see scrims or any kind of scrims, you should be able to very easily predict the outcome, which is fair enough, right? Okay. Controversial thought. Is that a bad thing? I don't know that even if it's good or bad. It's just a thing. What's wrong with it?
I mean, the thing is that I'd like to see more like on game. Like that just means that individual performance and outbreak performances on the day, like the type of natural random number generator that is the skill level of each individual player, matters less. So like things like that overcome the human condition of like just I don't know, anxieties. And
no, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Right, like these aspects are a little bit in the background, because fundamentals and fundamental understanding of these compositions, and just like the compositions itself, and to a certain degree also the scrim structures that you have, and when you get this knowledge and that type of stuff, that really determines winners. And those swing, like it's once again, these teams, like this tournament looks completely different if the Genji buffs don't go live and we still have Ash Tracer. That doesn't, like in those cases, I would definitely say Valiant goes further. And I would definitely say that Florida goes further. So in that sense, it feels very meta-determined. And that in itself may feel unsatisfying to some, though I do agree, like if you're not bothered by it and you just want to see good games. And then also, of course, as we will go into now, it really didn't matter towards the semifinals on Sunday. All games on Sunday were very entertaining.
Well,
like, yeah, the Philly and the Toronto thing, like the further the series went, it was problematic. But, other than that, it was pretty entertaining.
I mean, even in Asia too, it's like semifinals were kind of and then finals weren't bad at all. But I think we're still seeing like small residual effects from hero pools, and because we've artificially lowered, I think, the skill ceiling, and it kind of comes down to getting there fast, getting there early, and then refining it as much as you can now in the 2 weeks. It's kind of like a weird middle ground. Everything feels a little bit more meta specific. Everything feels like it's a little bit more asterisks, where it's like, okay, if things played out slightly differently in the pools, granted, there is no pools right now, even though that kind of is a pool in and of itself, because we haven't had to, we've only had basically the league's only had 2 weeks to like play out this patch. So like in a way, that's kind of its own hero pool still. I don't know. Yeah, it's not a bad thing. It kind of just is a thing.
Also, we don't know bans yet, right? So those are probably only come back next. And that's once again a good change that we have to commend the Overwatch League for, because that once again gives people time to really rest, because just like dry scrimming doesn't make much sense in this week. And also keep in mind, we have interviewed several coaches here. All of them have said the week before these tournaments, because of the stakes, because of the no hero pools and the size of the map pools, is extremely stressful. So this week is very, very important in order for them to recuperate.
Yeah. That's kind of, I think that's like I think that's going to be the big takeaway from hero pools, is like work efficiently, but you need to do it healthily. So finding that rest is important.
So I think on the surface of it, I don't want to change topics too hard, but on the surface of it, in the knockouts, to the casual viewer, or the average viewer, not even the casual viewer, it looked like 2.5 to 3 of 4 upsets, right? Would you say that's fair?
Is that 2.5 out of 4?
2.5 out of 4?
I think there were 4 upsets in the entire bracket, I would say, right? Like Friday had 3, and then Saturday had 1.
Well, okay, to you that might be.
I mean to the general public.
Okay.
Right?
So to the general, let's go. We can go through those.
Yeah, let's look at the upsets.
So let's look at Friday first. So definitely Defiant over Valiant. Definitely
upset.
Justice over Gladiators.
Yeah.
Upset.
I would say
Houston over Mayhem.
Most people would put Mayhem over Houston and are expected that to be there. So that makes sense. So that's my half there, and then but you could easily call it 3, and then Paris over Fuel was, I think, pretty expected. Right.
Yeah.
Then you had Defiant over Rain.
Defiant over Rain.
That's unexpected, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's 4. And then you have Rain
the only one.
over Shock. Or sorry, not Rain.
No.
Eternal over Shock.
Eternal over Vancouver.
He's looking at the upsets.
We're going to semifinals.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry.
We're talking about upsets.
Yeah.
On Sunday.
That's an upset, yes.
Yeah, on Sunday. That was an upset.
So
and
5,
then I would say grand finals is honestly probably on paper an upset. I think at that point the writing was on the wall for a lot of people who were ready to say, no. Paris is a good enough team right now to take the bracket.
Yeah. I wouldn't say the finals was an upset.
I would say to the average viewer, I feel like it felt like, even just, I mean, imagine you haven't watched Overwatch League until the tournament started.
Sure. Yeah.
And Paris beats
in itself, like if you tell these viewers the narrative of like Paris just like beat out the San Francisco Shock, a team, as Joe has pointed out in this piece before, who haven't missed a grand final since stage 1, or since season 1, essentially. For the first time, that team should be a scary team in order to make that
stage
step,
1 of 2019, right?
Yeah, I mean
not season 1.
No, they made all season 2 finals. So the last final they didn't make was
season 1. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. See, this is how I politically frame it to make the point more impressive.
Yeah.
Because we have a 6 months off season, and when we say, we have to go all the way back to 2018 for them to not make a final, that we can lie and make our point
more impact
better. Yeah, that's how we do it here. But that, I mean, I think with that idea, and then yes, it was of course close, like very, very close. So, but still, winning against the Shock should give you a nice boost. You can still think especially with how dominant the Fusion were, that they maybe were the favorites. I'm not mad about anyone having any inclination, any direction.
Anyway,
at that point, it would have probably, for me, been very 50-50.
Yeah, I think there's kind of like, if you watch all the games, your power rankings or your relative strengths throughout the tournaments are kind of hopping up and down, right? Based on who's winning, who's losing, how well they're performing in their wins or their losses. And but I think just at the end of the day, you go and look at, like, imagine a month from now, you go back and look and see Paris beats Philly. People are going to be like, oh yeah, that was an upset. We will remember because we talked about it for an hour on a Friday. But in the same way where it's like Outlaws over Florida is an upset.
Yeah.
Largely because of Florida's performance in the previous tournament.
Yeah. And it's
much.
It's also like, if you just look at the seeds, 8th seed making it to the final, what's up with that versus 3rd seed. Like, if you just tune in, don't know anything about the teams, I agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's all. So any big takeaways from the knockout games at all, or do we want to jump to something else?
What's wrong with Glads?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
What do we do with this team? It's not even like a super state anymore. It's not some sort of like Schrodinger's team. This team just not good right now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the meta. Maybe like with Brig coming out of the meta. Granted, I think I want to get more into this on Wednesday, but with Brig leaving for the Countdown Cup, basically, do we kind of have to soft reset and maybe Glads gets bumped back up because maybe we don't get another kind of like protect the flanker meta? Like, I don't know. I don't know what to do with this team right now.
The thing is, if you think about the elements of the Gladiators, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're not like super stacked. They're not a super team, I wouldn't say.
Yeah, no. I kind of don't hate that though.
And in a sense, like, if you look at their coaching staff, if you look at their infrastructure, their resources available, they're like 85% of what you conceptualize the Shock as. And yet their performance
nowhere near.
So what we can say is, like, building this house with the best bricks isn't the full story. You need some see, this is where what's between the cinder blocks, Joe, when you build a house? Mortar. Cement, yes. You need something to hold that stuff together and to also align them in a way. And I feel like one guy started building the wall, and then in the middle of it, it's like, that actually doesn't fit because the other guy started building here, and now we have to match like the cinder block like vertically, and like it's all a little wonky, but they are very good cinder blocks if we're thinking about it. And
sure,
also the
highest quality.
The craftsmen that do the job there also all highly qualified. It's just like it doesn't make much sense, while the team like the Shock completely banks, right? So
you're saying the Gladiators are architecture done by committee?
I don't know what's going wrong. I actually have no insights, and it's really weird.
It's probably the strangest team. Like, even going into this season, I was like, oh, I have my questions. I don't think I'd even question them this far, though. Like, seeing them fall to the Justice, who, there again, were suited for this meta. Like, did well. We're going to do well. This should have been closer at the very least. I don't know. It's a very confusing team.
I will say the brick is a problem. Like, Brick Goose wasn't very briggy.
Nope.
So
it's not,
that in itself is maybe a distinctive problem for this team. Other than that, like the It should just be better. It should at least, like, there's no reason why they shouldn't outperform the Valiant. And it's weird. And yeah. But the good news for the Gladiators is, as soon as they get it together and still make the play-ins, they are a dark horse team just based on the quality of the roster that they have. They just need to get it together. And it doesn't, like, we haven't seen it. Like, they've thoroughly lost the quality of they at least beat the teams they should after losing to Boston and Washington now. So what gives? What's going on there? And it's kind of sad because I feel like we're missing like an important team that's like the bridge between like the top teams and the mid-tier teams where they should be. Which would also make that type of competition in that regard, like let's say the 5th to 8th team, much more competitive than it is right now. But yeah,
do you think that Atlanta might have fallen and is now that team?
I think Atlanta they are better than Gladiators, but they're also not convincing. Like, at least like. I'm not mad at them for losing to Toronto, because Toronto was a legitimately good team in this patch. Like, for instance, Florida would have 100% also lost against Toronto, no questions asked.
Do you think though that Atlanta is kind of that gatekeeping team from kind of the
I'd say so.
the basically what we are used to, the role that LA Gladiators have played in Overwatch League seasons past? Of this, like, not quite top tier team, but better than, you know, the next tier kind of thing. They were kind of those gatekeepers and consistent. And the, you know, Reign, they've only really, like, outside of this loss to Defiant, I would have to go back and look specifically at the Atlanta Reign. But I feel like they haven't really had
lost any
major upsets that weren't top teams, or like, you know, like top 6-7 teams probably.
Yeah, they feel like the gatekeepers.
They did lose to LA Gladiators though, as we say that.
Yeah, they lost to Gladiators. They lost to okay, I mean Valiant. I'm not mad. They did lose to the Reign.
Fusion.
Yeah. I mean, it's still pretty okay, and it really depends. Like, once again, this is all highly contextual to the metas. We will see, right?
Yeah.
So it's also hard to just pinpoint where they are in these specific metas and what the future will hold. The rest of their I mean, once again, it depends on what kind of a meta falls. But for instance, Valiant seems to be hurting, so I want Atlanta to beat them in an upcoming game. Florida is not on top unless we're going back to Ash Tracer. After that, they have Boston. That should be winnable. Then Fuel, depending on what kind of a meta we have there, that should be winnable. Like, they still have a lot of games to play, to be fair. Like, they're one of the teams that have played the least amount of games. So they definitely need to play some catch up. The only really hard ones are Paris Eternal and then Shock.
I don't think those are. I don't know. Like, as teams, I think in most of the semifinals, I think you only saw like good teams that are going to like be good across like a wide number of metas. With like Toronto and possibly, I mean, Asia's tough because they have such a smaller like pool to choose from. But I think Toronto's probably the only team that made it to semifinals that felt like they peaked. Whereas like you hit a ceiling because of the meta, and it's like, okay, that should instill some confidence, and you should see some better performances because of this, you know, this finish. But where do you go next? It's tough to call because you've been so dire in a number of metas previous. Shock and Paris and Fusion all feel good locks to be good in,
especially with
a wide number of metas. Yeah. If I don't know if they're going to reach finals and win the countdown comp, you know, but they should do fine. Like, they should do well.
Before we get completely off Atlanta, like based on the tweet that Baby Bay made, I kind of want to highlight that and I think he deserves that too.
Yeah.
There are very, very few glow-ups like he had. And really the only ones I can think of that were at this magnitude are probably the Paris guys, like Nico and Ben Best. Other than that, I feel like across Overwatch League history, which admittedly is not very long, but that improvement came out of nowhere, and he legitimately is ahead of, like, should be played ahead of top tier talent like Sharp and Edison on a lot of these hitscan heroes.
Yep.
Now, of course, as we saw during these matches, like, Edison is more of a flex DPS than we thought.
Yeah.
So he's not just a Widow God, but he's like this Genji player as well, who can play an aggressive for Genji. So sort of interesting, but yeah, in terms of baby-based career, like, if this was to be the end, he made it a great run at the end.
Yeah,
and,
fantastic
like,
stab.
That's going out on top. Sadly, his team couldn't keep up with his speed, but it wasn't due to him that his team is currently not a top 5 team in the world. So hats off to that.
Yeah, I think even like remembering him back on like the Shock in 2018, right? Like, came out and had some very surprising performances. If anything, I think you could look at that, apply a little bit of, fan sauce to it. And, maybe you've always been high on Baby Bay. I think his GOAT's performance definitely took him down a couple rungs, and at least in my mind, but seeing him return to kind of comfort picks and dedicated hit scan roles looks fantastic. One of the better, Western hit scan players, probably in history, I would say.
Yeah, I've always been.
Sure.
I think I've always been pretty optimistic about Baby Bay overall as a player, and just not really the situations he got thrown into. Like, I think he was, by virtue of how the roster was built itself, or maybe it was like the reluctance of Sephi or whatever, we saw him kind of play in some heroes where it made him look, I think, a lot worse than he was as a player. And he's got a deep hero pool. I mean, we've seen it this season, right? Like, it's not just hit scan players or whatever that he can play, and we've seen him flex quite a bit. So it's going to be sad to have him take off, I think, but I don't know. Has he said where he's going?
No,
I think it's fairly obvious. I think
that was an interesting interaction on Twitter. Did you see that? Between him and Corey?
Yeah, him and Corey. Yeah. You want to sign me to FaZe? Nah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I think it's like, if I'm reading the tea leaves, I think his talents are suited immensely for Valorant, and I think he'll do very well in that game. So
let me ask though, do you think, would you recommend him to call it quits now? Or would you recommend him to sit out the season for 2 more months and over however long we're going and keep playing?
I mean, it depends. Like, it kind of comes down to the person. Like, do you want to keep playing? Are you interested in continuing to play? It's not like the team's gonna. I mean, the team is going to suffer because of it, but it's not like they have to like immediately replace you. Like,
yeah, they have plays.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably stuck out as long as like he could feasibly take it before he just like was gonna get burnt out. At least I would hope or imagine.
Are you, Yiska, are you asking from like a financial perspective, an emotional health perspective?
Maybe just an aggregate of everything, even though much of it is like hidden from us, right? Because like, if I think about it, just the opportunity and what I would want to look back at when I'm older. Like, where are the meaningful achievements that I will look back on in 20, 30 years and think, this decision was good and it facilitated me towards having a legacy, or like having left these or having made these important experiences, right? So I think we're getting close to the heat of the moment in terms of Overwatch League, and we haven't had a full. I mean, there's still a lot of, as we pointed out, Atlanta still has to play a ton of games. I think 9 games, and then the countdown, and then at best also the season playoffs. So there's probably roughly still, let's say, 16 to 18 games to be played at best for him, which is roughly half a season. I mean, in a general sense,
8 remaining games.
8 remaining games. Then okay, and then Countdown Cup is, I mean, 3 games at best. Is it 3 games? 4 games at best, right?
4 games. Yeah.
And then you have season playoffs with play-ins possibly for them as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're looking at
still to finish.
Yeah, we're looking at least like 15 games to finish, and that's a lot. I can sort of understand why that feels like we're not on the home stretch for Atlanta yet.
Well, their next 5 matches right now is they have 0 matches against teams in the top 6 currently in the league. It's Valiant, Mayhem, Uprising, Fuel, Eternal.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, there's still some stressful bangers in there. Like I feel like you can say that, but I also feel like Valiant is a hard game. Florida could be a hard game.
They're still hard games
Dallas
because like using standings right now is kind of a disingenuous argument to begin with, right? But those are also very much winnable for a Reign team that does find a way to turn it around or perform, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like he probably knows best. And of course, like it's just I selfishly like to see more of Baby Bay in this form. That's all I'm trying to express.
Sure. Think he's done a bang up job with Atlanta. Hats off to him on wherever he goes next. Wish him well.
Also, amazing job on the spreadsheet, by the way, to Eric. They put together a playoff race spreadsheet, and we've got ELOs, a relative ELO rank, the number of remaining games, their next 5 opponents, their current win-loss plus bonus records, their like remaining strength of schedule type stuff, all right here so that we can like easily digest it on the show. So Eric is giving me a little bit more time to understand a few of the columns yet that I don't fully get, but that's because I'm big dumb.
What do you need to
I forget what the MC rank stands for.
MC, that's the MC is Monte Carlo.
The Monte Carlo, thank you. That was driving me nuts. Monte Carlo simulation, and this is this is the most likely outcome for everyone. So Dragons are the most likely team to be first in the league, then Shocker the most likely to be second, Fusions are the most likely to be third, and so on. Got it. So Reign right now are most likely to be 9th.
Yes.
And 0% in Monte Carlo puts them in the top 6.
Yes.
92% in the top 12.
So that makes it impossible for them to be top 6 unless it's rounded. And it's theoretically, mathematically possible. Let's think about this.
I think it's mathematically possible because we've got like a skull and crossbones. So it's like a sum 0. Yeah, so it's rounded to 0, but not technically 0.
Yeah. Maybe it's actually impossible. Even though maybe they can surpass. No, at best I think they can surpass. Well, that
I think they have to win
more
bonus wins. They have to get three bonus wins.
Oh, it doesn't count CC. Okay.
So.
Yeah. They would have to win, and then also Excelsior and the Mayhem would have to lose a bunch.
Yeah.
And then it could still be possible.
Yeah.
which seems unlikely to be fair. So
Totally
they're probably
unlikely.
going, they're probably going into the top 12, and that is also very likely that they're going to make it. So yeah,
Fair.
they will have to play a ton of games still.
Let's talk a little bit about Paris Eternal as we wrap it up on the NA side. So Paris, I think, was, another surprise. I don't think anybody on this show has doubted how good they can be. But I don't know if we expected them to whip out back-to-back wins against the Shock and the Fusion. At least coming into the week.
I won't make the entire argument that I made in today's article. And I basically wrote a piece based on the event of what transpired this weekend. And asked how meaningful is the description of rookie really in this league?
Yeah, I read that article, by the way. Really good.
Is like, was the old Runaway really rookies when they already competed at the absolute top of like Overwatch esports in Apex? Is that really like, and then have been competing since 2016, most of them together? And like, is that really a rookie? And then also, like, you think in other sports, like if someone gets Rookie of the Year, it's like, well, one day, boy, if you keep this up, you can be a superstar, but it's not guaranteed. And now it's like, oh, you're a rookie. So if you go Rookie of the Year, you automatically should be considered as MVP. There's no meaningful division anymore. Like, it's not like Carpe or DK or who else is in there? Fleda have meaningful separation in terms of skill level that they've earned through experience between these players. No, like someone like if someone like Sparkle came into this league, he could absolutely in his first year just clap it all. And like that's why like the rookie experiences, like the only I raised the argument, the only real rookie experiences that I've had in Overwatch were GC Busan with their Royal Road. They came in, slapped. Yeah. So that's a rookie that then also did great stuff. And then Jonak, because he didn't have much competitive experience before that. That's a rookie, right? Like the rest that come into the Overwatch League had pretty meaningful tier 1 experience, whatever tier 1 was beforehand. And then in season 2, there were still rookies coming in a ton of rookies coming in with Apex experience. And now we are slowly getting to the area where, for instance, I wrote an article about Yaki, how he is like the last of Apex, last of the Apex monsters that are entering this league. But still, like this, I can't help but feel this is a semantic battle against devaluing the level of contenders, which really isn't so different. And I think a lot of people would just shake their heads if there were open competitions between contenders teams and the top tier contenders teams and the top and the, let's say, just below top tier teams in OWL. How close that would be. And then I asked, like, what is the meaning of a rookie team? If a team led by a rookie that just 36 days ago in his very first final can walk into this final and slap fools with his 4 other rookie friends. What does that mean? What value is experience in Overwatch? Is it a meaningful distinction to be a rookie?
It's tough because it's like, okay, I think most people, myself included, would agree that a lot of this is semantic, and that already gives you a lot of gray area. So you kind of have to have like a hard and fast rule. Either everybody's a rookie or nobody's a rookie. So for instance, right, you take somebody like FD God, who obviously has quite a career going back to EU contenders, doing well in World Cup, coming in. Do you value his resume the same as Sparkle's?
No.
So if that's the case, then it has to be one or the other. You can't have both. You can't just pick and choose who's a rookie or who's not. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't like that Sparkle's a rookie, but That's just the crossroads they went.
My conclusion is just Rookie of the Year shouldn't be such a meaningful award that everyone holds in high regards. There should be more functioning like awards that we should look at. Like, for instance, and we're going to do this, by the way, we got to sit down because Overwatch League is not going to do this, and we got to figure it out for ourselves. But how about an award of most improved player?
Sure.
How is that not a meaningful distinction? That is like,
it's tough too.
It's tough, but it's like, it's a really important topic because like what people should take away from this is that like some people win the battle against themselves. And that's a meaningful narrative to tell to people, that some of those didn't give up and kept developing. Like who's the most successful? The guy that has all the talent in the world, has all the access to like the best practice facilities, the best coaches, becomes then the best player, or the kid that plays on his laptop with 30 FPS, somehow makes it into the Overwatch League, and then maybe just makes it to a final of one of those, like, I don't know, like May Mealies. What is success, right? And I feel like this is, while we still can, of course, champion the absolute top, perform the best, we should also highlight these stories more, and maybe not make it so much about this rookie aspect when it is essentially meaningless. And to be fair, the introduction of role stars, I feel like that's a weird thing for me, that we're talking so much about rookie of the season and why we're not talking that much about role stars in comparison.
Yeah, I think even looking at like MVP right now is tough. Like, there's just so many players that, like, naming an MVP and how rotation based this whole metagame and hero pools has been. Like, you don't have somebody kind of just like lasting the entire season and just being an absolute monster. Like, very few players haven't been like kind of subbed out and changed and tweaked and whatever. Rookies, I mean, I would agree. Like, it feels like another one of those traditional sports things where it's like, oh, you know, if the NFL has it, then we got to have it because we're the NFL and we got to be on TV and we got to, you know, sell the merch and we got to geolocate. Like, it's like, again, it goes back to that giant narrative, kind of like how OWL was developed, was we're going to be traditional sports, but in video games. And at some point, the Rookie of the Year will matter. Hopefully. We will get like contenders talent, or the league will get to a point where contenders really doesn't compete. And then you can see them come in and have breakout performances, and that'll matter. But I think it's going to take a long time for that to happen. So
I don't think it will ever happen, but that's a topic for another time. But I make the argument, like, that's the reason why you should read the article, because the topic is really about two things. A, why Rookie of the Year is not that important, or shouldn't be that like a forefront argument or like topic that people discuss. The second reason is why these rookies are as good as they are, and like really looking at the different arguments that structurally Overwatch just facilitates this narrative to rise. And I name like arguments from gatekeepers to date keepers in terms of like eligibility to like the ever-changing nature of the game and stuff like that. So that's like these arguments, I think, make you Overwatch unique over any other sport, because like if you look at basketball or football, nobody in this league is going to peak at 27, my dude. Like, Numlock might be legitimately the only archetypical athlete that peaks at 27 that we will ever have in this league. He's like Numlock is sports, if we're thinking about it. Nobody else, like in no other sport, or very, very few cases, even in esports, does like a player peak at exactly 18, 19.
Unless they're like, it doesn't really happen. I hadn't thought about like how often the game gets changed, how structurally the game changes. Like, there always just will be a rookie almost team if we continue down this path, there will always be just like incredibly strong rookie talent that doesn't get brought up, and will always just kind of dominate. The problem is that could you hand wave it away by saying that they're playing in a weaker region, right? Like if a team from PAC came in, dominated everybody in PAC, and then was signed to the Overwatch League, is that the same as dominating Korea? It's not. It's just not. I don't know. It's tough. Rookie discussion. It's very semantic based. It's about what you decide it is, and I guess the Owl team just decided that they were just going to start it with the Overwatch League, and everybody else.
That's why like the ultimate argument towards this is it's too complicated to be meaningful. Let's look elsewhere.
So is your conclusion that you'd like to just have it removed?
We can have it like just like give someone,
at the end
just
of the day,
make it one of the main trophies.
Or awards are awards, right? Like
yeah.
I don't think you can though. To be honest, I don't think you can keep it. Like if you're saying you need the community to kind of like back off of it, I don't think they're going to. I don't think that you can separate, or I don't think you can explain the context well enough to like get through to them that this really doesn't mean what you think it means. So I think it's either got to go or it just remains one of the staple words.
That's another argument that I make, is that in many ways the discussion around Rookie of the Year feels like people are just like, okay, I want to talk about good players. Okay. So MVP, oh my God, there's like 30 players. So let's cut it down and just like make Rookie of the Year arguments, because that's much more manageable than it's only
but it's
like
not
12
though.
names. I mean,
I guess
like every Rookie of the Year to a degree also would have to be considered, at least in some margin, to be
as an
MVP candidate. So
definitely could.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of like, okay, let's cut off half of the argument so it's manageable for me, and I don't like have to, because let's be honest, the Hero Pools has made it so that there's no clear MVP candidate, and arguably there have never been as many MVP candidates as there are now.
I would agree.
Mm-hmm. I also wonder if it doesn't kind of balance itself out over time. Like we're in year 3, right, of Overwatch League. There's still a ton of undiscovered talent. There's still a ton of turmoil in tier 2. And, in 5, 6, 7 years, does that change a ton when hopefully this is a lot more normalized? Hopefully we've got some sort of structure to tier 2. Hopefully we've got some sort of understanding. So you don't have people who have been playing since Apex Season 2 still waiting for their shot in Overwatch League and would be a phenomenal talent.
I'll tell you, I don't think it will ever stabilize.
Nope.
Hopefully I get to write that article tomorrow, but I'm going to make some people very scared with the hypothesis that I have there about where the game is moving. And it's kind of far-fetched, and I don't want to give it away, but I don't think Overwatch has settled even at the most fundamental levels what it wants to be.
Okay, nope. That's different though than like
I don't think
having all players, new players, having come through a system before Overwatch League existed.
True, but then it's just like we start from a completely new game. Everything is off the table. Nothing matters anymore. Like depending on and I don't want to give it away, which makes this conversation awkward, and I shouldn't have brought it up. But like, there are changes where it's like, does everything matter before this at all?
Yeah. Does pre-roll lock matter post-roll lock? I feel like there's a very strong argument to just discredit all that history. It's a different game.
Yeah.
Does pre-hero pools matter post-hero pools? Different game. You could just completely hand wave it and say none of this matters.
I think there's a solid argument that changes coming that is way more severe than those changes we're talking about. But we'll see. I'll scare some people tomorrow. Based on also absolutely zero juice, me just being a tea leaf reader.
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about, Joe?
I think I've been on that wavelength. Yeah. Like I think just like generally speaking, I agree with I think the conclusion. I don't think I care about what change is made. I think there probably will always be change until something drastic happens with this game. Like it has to be like a serious like upheaval, and that upheaval will kind of stabilize. But we've seen so much that I don't know that we'll ever get there. I know that was like really, really dumb and convoluted, but yeah, I don't know. There's been so much like fundamental change that I don't know that we'll ever get a stable game.
Yeah.
That doesn't just fundamentally change. So like everything just gets thrown up in the air every like month or two.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's not just patch changes. Like it's not like, oh, well, Genji's good here, Genji's not good here, you can hand wave it. No, I'm talking about like fundamental, like you can't pick these heroes. You can't pick this, like the game modes change, or like just like the way that you play the game is different. That if you were to extrapolate that farther, you have a completely different history, right? Like that kind of things. Patch changes, little game changes, you look at League of Legends and they change the jungle. That matters. Vision, like the way that they've kind of borked Vision definitely matters. And I think there's an argument there, but we're not doing a podcast about League of Legends.
Yeah.
I think we're the only game that really sees that much change, and it really makes you question history.
Yeah.
I agree. Short answer, I agree.
I want to go back to I want to go back to the bracket, and then I want to talk about Yiska's article on Wednesday. And because it's coming out tomorrow, so then we'll be good to talk about it. Anything else we want to have we spent enough time or any time really on Eternal versus Eternal Shock and just Eternal in general? Have we spent enough time talking about the Barris Eternal, who honestly looked really incredible, even though that they were two very close series? I mean, holy cow.
Yeah. I think we need to spend some time because I know you guys. It would be in the YouTube comments. How are you not talking about the best weekend ever in Overwatch? And I'll say for now, I can't judge because I haven't seen the finals yet. I only saw Shock.
You need to see the finals.
I'm
Can I spoil you a little bit?
Sure.
Like, when's the last time you've seen a game go down to the last fight? Map 7.
Shock Moth. Like the Moth moment on Rialto. Atlanta Rain.
Yeah. But I mean,
there goes that
kind of long ago.
Yeah, it's kind of long ago. Yeah.
And even before that, though, like these moments don't happen a lot, right? That's the point.
Yeah.
This is one of those matches.
Okay.
It goes down to the final fight. You have no idea which way it goes until the moment happens, and then great games. I would easily put this weekend, if not like the final, in like a Pantheon-esque like top 5 of all time. Probably wouldn't be. Well, I don't know. I haven't thought too much on it.
Based off of last month's Dynasty Shanghai reverse sweep.
I mean, that one's probably up there too. I'd say this one's better. Again, like this went down to the final moment. And even before that, it could have ended. And again, spoilers if you haven't seen it. Multiple moments this game could have ended, and then some magic happens. So it's up there. It's up there.
Who's stronger? A team led by a player that has the most kills in the Overwatch League, has gone through, I think, 3 grand finals now.
Yeah.
Not least one season grand final. Always came close, semi-close to winning it, or one. Boy. 36 days, dude. Like, this is, I don't know.
They feel like full teams, too. Like, they feel like this isn't just like a Prophet and like his sidekick Hureg. This is Carpe and look at EQO's performance. This is Sparkle and look at Xy's performance. Like, these aren't bad rosters. Like, there's not like much you can nitpick with these teams. You look back at some of the history and you're like, well, you know, Hureg, he tried. More of a Widow player, so like his Tracer wasn't that great. Prophet did a lot of the heavy lifting. Gesture was there. You could kind of pick apart that roster, right? Like, we're getting to a point in the game where it's getting tough. It's getting tough to just like I can't describe it any more than like picking it apart. Like, and that's where I go, like, are we in like a different state in the game in terms of like the level of difficulty just based on the talent? Does that make sense? Like the talent, like the game is so hard now for a number of reasons, including how good some of these players are. So I kind of put more weight on some of these games that it's like, dang, like it's hard to win right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to win for a number of reasons. And one of those reasons definitely, I think, is the difficulty in terms of like how stacked some of these teams are, at least at the top. Not so much at the bottom, but yeah.
Do you know what is kind of funny though? Is that there is a world in which Paris could have gotten knocked out by the Fuel.
I mean,
I know you don't want to hear it, but
it's an unlikely world. We would agree with that.
It was. I mean, so you had Fielder's sleep dart on Watchpoint Gibraltar that saved the map for them. So then you go 2-2, and then you bring it down to a map 5, and with Dohan DK, I like on what map 5 would be Control, right?
Control, and they got slapped.
And they
2-0, but it's a different map, so
it's a different map, but still, like it's not that.
Not completely out of the realm of possibility.
It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Just
the team that won the NA bracket also loses to Dallas Fuel if Fielder doesn't hit that sleep dart.
Yeah.
I just watched the last fight of Paris against Eternal. How does Philly use that fight?
Paris against Eternal.
Paris Eternal.
Paris Fusion.
Yeah.
Like Carpe gets the pick.
Yeah.
Why can Exy just like ghost walk in the backline, just like veining, like tumbling around, just like killing?
Look at the fight before that. He was just on the flank.
I saw that.
Like the Widow flank, and then EKO clutches it. Who I think, if we were mature enough to be able to pick like a true MVP, I think EKO is the MVP of this entire series. I think this kid had a fantastic performance all series long, like incredible. Unfortunately, he was on the losing team. I think performed better than anybody on that server, genuinely.
Even Sparkle?
Yeah. I think across like the entirety of the maps.
I hate that, but I don't hate that. Yeah.
I think this is one of those moments where you could give him the MVP. I would give him the MVP, and he's on the losing team. That's how well I think he played.
Damn.
But yeah, I think it was like a last minute. Again, like this sounds anime, but I think it was like just a last minute like switch up. Xe plays the flank a little harder, finds that opening 2 fights in a row. You can't adapt in 2 fights, right? Like does it on McCree, does it on Widow. It's the same thing both times, different sides of the map. And you catch him. Sometimes you just catch him. And
it just felt they should have won the fight based on their numbers advantage and not astronomical disadvantage. I felt like that's a fight in their favor, and then Xe just like came from behind and nobody really paid attention, and it was weird.
Sometimes you just sneak in a little cheese, and you hide the McCree, you hide the Widow, you know. Kind of analogous to what Shanghai tried to pull on Blizzard World, hiding on the vending machines, right? Like sometimes you just hide them, sometimes you just get one by them in the grand finals. It's risky. It's that the line between bravery and stupidity is fine. Maybe they just scout it and kill him, and they just win the fight easy. But I don't know. Paris had the presence of mind to pull it off, and what do you say? Other than it was fantastic to watch. That was special. Those last few fights were just special. EKO with like the 3v1 blade. Like, how can you not like applaud that? Xe trying to like even like moments before that getting the double headshot
stuff.
Yeah. Like, and then the McCree like That might just be the best game of all time. Genuine.
Wow.
Difficulty, magic moments, big plays, level of like skill. Could just be. I think I need to think on that more, but strong contender. Special game.
Also, of course, like absolutely incredible for the fact that like not only did they play back-to-back games and it's like London Spitfire season 1-esque like dredge of an experience, but it's also that Fielder played in the middle of the night. This boy had Joe type of sleeping, like sleeping rhythm.
I saw my fellow degenerate.
12, yeah.
I saw the happiness in his eyes, but his face was dead by the end of it. That was kind of like the fun dynamic, just like seeing everybody in the Paris Eternal like jump around and like be happy, and he's just like, we did it. I'm happy.
I get to sleep.
I get to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what was it? 15 games or so? 13? I don't know. A lot of games in a row for this team, and yeah. Special game. On ping, like chat's saying. Yeah.
And Fielder was on 200 ping.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like you can't really apply much more training weights to this kid, right? Like
No.
Everything is going against him. Like 10 million games, 3 a.m., 200 ping, and you guys are sticking. Like that's what it feels like, right? Like I don't know.
Paris, I kind of hinted at this on Twitter, like the landscape could be changing. We could be seeing an upheaval here, with how drastic I think the meta is going to be, or how big the shift is going to be away from what we've seen. I think like a new archetype probably comes up, and trumps a lot of this like kind of slow pokey style. Granted, it's really not that slow with Genji, but yeah, I don't know. I think things are going to get shaken up a lot, and I think Paris is like really catching their stride. So I don't think anything's for certain coming into the Countdown Cup and the qualifiers.
It's also this is just 100% the announcement of a new like phenomenal coaching staff. There's no question anymore that Paris Eternal, based on especially how people like Nico and Ben Best played, how they now have become a champion, how hard these players have improved, like someone like FD God becoming like going from really dodgy break performances to like sick break performances.
You want to talk about most improved? Yeah, Ben Worst to Ben Best.
Yeah, Ben Best is that
big shout.
Like, absolutely in there, and he's a champion now. Yeah.
Sometimes it hits and sometimes it doesn't. Yeah.
You didn't think Ben West was ever to hit, right?
Nah.
Maybe at 6 a.m. High jaw.
Yeah, maybe, but that's my life though. Like it's just a perpetual state of
sleep deprivation,
energy, and
I hate to do this, but we don't have a lot of time. We have to talk about the Asia bracket.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the big ones here. I think the first one is, excuse me. There we go. The first one is probably NYXL getting rocked by Guangzhou 3-0.
Yeah.
I figured that'd be closer, but I don't think it was a spread.
Yeah. I thought it would have been like I already saw the week beforehand. I felt kind of cheated by Asia being so slow to the meta. Mm-hmm. Like I saw like, oh, Eileen against Haksal, that could be a sick Genji duel. And it was kind of delayed. And then even then NYXL that did a bunch of weird stuff. And it's like, it was unsatisfying, to be honest. Like I thought this could have been a way better final than it ended, semifinal than it ended up being. Yep. So yeah, kind of sad. On the other hand, like this is charge meta, and interestingly, this is charge meta without
Nero.
Without Nero. Yes.
Yeah. This is But that's the scary thing about this team, and I think like makes them a good team, is that with Nero, you can see them being good across a number of metas. Like without 1 week hero pools, without the severity of that chaos, you give them 2 weeks to perform or to kind of refine something. I think this team gets it done. They have all the right pieces to be able to do so, and I think they have for the most part. I think Asia in general just kind of looked a little weak. Not to charge as discredit, not to say that like, oh well, we somehow hand wave away this title win. No, this is they beat the best team in a very not convincing way, but strong way.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can stop forgetting about the charge and just writing them off. Like this is a good team, probably I'd say the only other good team.
Yeah,
the only other good team in Asia is the Dragons. You have two good teams in Asia.
Yeah, I think you have a lot of good teams, but there's only one that can hold a candle to the Shanghai Dragons, apparently. And I'm not convinced yet. They got to display that to me over a bunch of metas that they're capable of doing this. So because I feel like to a degree, a Genji meta, due to Eileen's propensity or like gift on that hero, helped them out a little bit. Nevertheless, of course, an amazing performance. And also, like, as long as we don't ban Sigma, Krong is going to be a nutcase.
Yeah, that's a problem.
I think he's the best Sigma in the Overwatch League. Period. Yeah, I don't think there's a better one. I can't think of what are the other names? Like,
I'm not gonna lie, Hanbin was kind of clean. Hanbin did look good.
Yeah,
but not Krong. Krong, I think Krong is the best, but like there are a lot like below him though. I think Choi was okay. I think Choi has been good, but I don't know. He still does some goofy stuff sometimes.
I think also like just like the style of Sigma that you currently need, which is a little aggro and just like also does a ton of damage, really suits him well. Where it's less about like only utility denial, but like actually doing serious and also showing up on the kill feed and whatnot. Anticipation and how you use the accretion, especially in the Sigma 1v1s against what's the shift called?
Of Sigmas?
Yeah.
I can look. Hold
on. Chat. What's it called? The shift, the matrix. Kinetic grasp. Yeah. Nobody has ever said that on cast, probably.
Probably.
But I just this kid is nuts. Like shield management also very good.
Mm-hmm.
Just shuts down these big cooldowns.
Let me throw this at you. Is this another one of those times where flex tank is probably the most important role and nobody sees that?
Like we thought about this, right? Like I know Fradinho asked Captain Planet if they had like statistical insights into the importance of Sigmas in the success of a team. Eye test wise, I think we're close to where just like Sigma dictates pace so much.
Yeah,
and
I would say so.
There's so much outplay potential on that character, and it's so multi-dimensional, arguably more than D.Va ever was.
Totally.
And if you can command that, it's also like it's really hard to play around these windows and shield manage around them. So there's a ton to consider and a ton of angles to cover, and a lot of awareness to gain advantages through. Like if you have that awareness. And to a degree, I would even argue that this may be like Fury not having that awareness in that final moment in that final. And to be fair, he was looking into a window as well. So maybe I haven't, again, I just watched the clip. So I don't know what the situation was. But yeah, these situations is like, I think there's so much clutch potential for a Six Sigma. And it might just be in the specific meta, in this specific Genji meta where that's important. I have to really think long and hard and watch a bunch of footage to rethink this in terms of how this looks in Tracer Ash.
Yeah, I think I'll go out on a limb and I'll say that so far in the history of Overwatch, flex tank is the most important role in the game.
Yeah, I'm not.
I think over the course of the history of the game, flex tank, having a good flex tank, which again is tough to read, quantify, and then get, the most important. And then a small jab to Yiska or a toss up is that final play our orange marmalade.
Oh, that final play, no, but the AQO play is
okay. Fair enough.
The orange
I'll take
marmalade.
that. I'll take that.
And for those that don't know, orange marmalade was like in World of Warcraft 3v3 arena. Basically, once someone died, it's over. 100%, 95% of the time, unless you get a counter kill very quickly. So what happened in that was they traded, and it was a 2v1, and he somehow miraculously just like the opponent misplayed it, but in unprecedented fashion, he actually wins the 2v1, and they win the series based on that. And that had never happened. And afterwards, I don't think WoW esports has ever happened again. It was this ridiculous and made huge gaming news around 2010.
Yeah. Definitely one of like the legendary esports plays of like any game. It's pretty special. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I think he won on damage, right? Like, wasn't that like a stipulation? Like the arena timed out and like ESL had it like you won on damage done.
Maybe. I'm not sure if he killed one. Maybe.
Something like that. Yeah, it was just a special play. And I think that like we'll remember the EQO 3v1 as like a special play.
Yeah. So I guess we got to speed it up a little bit and say Soul once again, like
playoff Soul.
Which one are you gonna get?
Half the game. Yeah. Oh man, this team, dude. I
stand by what I said. I just said it wrong.
What do you say?
Like this team, like playoff Soul does well.
Until
they don't play regular season. I mean, you ran into the Dragons. Like that's a tough ask. Like but that was a different team that played London. They look good.
Yes, and then there were a different team that played the Dragons, and which you have slappity slap, boy. Like this wasn't the close Soul that showed up against Titans in the Bay melee.
No. So. But I think they do step it up in the finals or in the playoffs. Let's say when you give them something to play for, they play up to it.
Sure.
Slappity slap.
Spark, not a good team.
Oh come on, dude! They were so good until it wasn't good.
They were so good for like a day, and they beat up on the New York Excelsior, who, let's face it, not the same team. I'm going to continue beating that drum.
But they also played charge close.
Sure, I guess. Like that speaks more to me than the New York game, and I still think that people are like, oh, they played New York close. Like, no, I think this team's bad.
The worst part about this is that they are currently like, if we still, and I'm not sure, like I don't know why we don't know if there's still a play in and how they will be determined, or if you were like, by the way, just something to keep in the back of your mind is the CDL have just announced that they're going to have online playoffs. So this is probably also in the cards for Overwatch, unless there's like a huge break where everyone somehow miraculously can travel to Korea, quarantine for 2 weeks with practice facilities already set up where they can quarantine. Everyone gets to practice. They in that case, to probably cut down on the logistics, it wouldn't increase the size of people in playoffs or play-ins. It would decrease the size, and maybe we would have wider ranging play-ins to decrease the amount of teams that would be able to travel over, or whatever it is. Like I don't know. I'm just speculating. Honestly, haven't heard anything. That's just the only thing I can think of, because honestly, let's be honest, it would feel kind of a bummer if we were not to be able to see these two regions mess with each other at all. I would understand we're in a global pandemic.
Yeah.
But if that was at all possible, that would be super awesome. And in that case, we would probably not see the same structure of like top 12 is play-in that we saw last season.
No, it's interesting. We'll have to see. I do apologize because we're kind of, I want to talk so much more about the Asia region, but we just are out of time today. And normally we have plenty of time, but we don't have it this time. So apologies for cutting it a little bit short. We'll see what we can do to make it up for you. We're going to get out of here. Again, I'm sorry for the hard stop, but we got to go. Big thanks to our patron producers, Battle Crab Pin, Lolshin, Charlie L, Audio Compass, Porkchop Savvy, Kash67, Kushi Kopi, Shara Picasso, Nathan Your Misery, Hunter Tane, Refine Bean, Rex Zane, Roger B, Fabled Steven, Owen, Chris R34444, and Yiska is holding me hostage. Please send help. If you like the show, go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. Big thanks to our newest patron, Voyager OW, patroned during the show. Appreciate you a ton. Welcome. You're the best. And we've got some new subs and bit donations, don't we?
This is who you like more. This is where it comes down to.
Oh, then Joe.
So new subs, we have Captain M. Kirk. We have Chris R34444 with 10 gifted subs. Thank you very much for the big support. Ashador Hunter Tane gifted 5 subs. Thank you for your big support. Sickles, Suds and Bubbles, Skeptical Cly, Porkchop Sammy, I am KJ, Katie, friend of and wife of the host of the show.
Very good friend of the show.
Very, very good friend. 100 bits from her. Azawar with 200 bits. Thank you. Sorry if I butchered your name. Quiznos Bears gifted 5 subs, so thank you for your big support as well. Voyager OW, obviously now patron and new sub. Thank you. Fredinho, Beast, 1482, B111123B. Thank you for your numbers. And Shrugzix, Peggy, and Sparky's Shocker. All new subs, along with the gifted subs. Thank you very much. Hopefully you got hit with one of the gifts. If not, you can go on iTunes, drop that 5-star iTunes review. It helps us with the discoverability and whatnot. So do that if you don't have any cash.
Big thank you again a ton for this the support on the stream today. Insane. Absolutely insane. Y'all are so awesome. Thank you. No new 5-star iTunes reviews this week, but if you like the show, want to support, don't want to pay any money, and don't have a Twitch Prime, 2 awesome free ways to do it. Number 1, tune in for our live shows Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon. Twitch.tv/KickedTripod. Friday is Spike Drop. Monday, Wednesday is Tactical Crouch. Otherwise, leave a 5-star iTunes review, and we will read your name on the next show. Okay, really quick. Joe, shout-outs for the week. Where can people find you? Go.
Right in Paris tomorrow. Eras and timelines, and then Eileen. Bye.
Sweet. Yiska, what about you? Go.
Scary stories and about the number 4, as well as I wrote about rookies, as I talked about. And if you want to find out, well, the description of rookie is kind of problematic and should be disregarded, and what other issues there are around that structure, stemming back to stability of tier 2, which I'm also going to interview people on based on the report I did on Friday, because apparently we didn't like stable metas. Now we don't like stable teams for some reason. Amazing. Check that out on GG Recon.
All right, as for me, you can find me everywhere at KickedTripod, twitch.tv/KickedTripod, youtube.com/John Horstman, and twitter.com/KickedTripod. Nothing new coming out, but we're doing the show every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you all again. We will see you on Wednesday for our just kind of catch your breath show on Wednesday. We'll be live at noon again. It'll be noon, not 1:30 this time. So noon. We'll see you then. Bye. Bye.